Hello and welcome back for this new video. It's about the full moon, which is going to occur in Pisces on the 7th of September at 6:09 p.m. Universal time, of course, as usual. So let's have a look at the chart of this event, which is quite an interesting one, as you will just to find out in a second actually. So the moon is here at 15 degrees and 23 minutes in Pisces, and it's not very far from the North Lunar node, which is at 18 degrees, so there is a 3-degree difference between the two. That space is going to be covered in about 6 hours by the moon. So that means that very early in the morning of the 8th of September, the moon and the North Lunar node will be conjunct. But already on the 7th of September at 6:09, and then of course later, the moon is going to have a very strong influence to trigger the energy of that North Lunar node, which represents that toward which we aim to be going. So do you have a goal, an objective? Are you involved in an activity, in a project that you want to realize? The full moon day could be very significant about it. Now you see this formation here is what we call a kite. So a kite needs this vertebra, and it needs this rigid road as well here. So that's the head of the kite, and that's the tail. Now, of course, it's going to fly toward this direction. And that's where we find the Sun, Mercury, and the South Lunar node. So the Sun is going to shed light, hopefully anyway, on what we need to actually abandon, try and let go of, so that we can free ourselves and make our existential vehicle lighter in order to reach eventually that North Lunar node. So the goal that we aim at reaching. It's going to be a very interesting period until the new moon, which is going to actually occur at the end, very end, in Virgo. So that means that 2 new moons are going to occur this year in Virgo. And that's interesting because if you watch the video about the new moon in Virgo, you'll find that if that new moon represents the beginning of a cycle, so if you want to initiate an important project, maybe it is better to do it on that very day of the new moon, and any new moon for that matter. But because there is another one in the same sign, the next one could be the second chance if you haven't been able to obtain what you wanted, or to begin that new cycle, or to initiate anything important. You'll have another chance. And so the full moon being a moment when actually the moon is quite intense in light, it should be sufficient to show us the way. Even though we may not have the lights on in a car, driving at night can be quite threatening and treacherous, but the fact is that thanks to the moon, when it is full and there's of course no clouds, bright sky, we can drive without the lights on in a car or any other type of vehicle. So that means that the moon, even though it's not the light that shines from the sun naturally, it's much less intense, but still, it will show us the way. So on that 7th of September, it is very possible that those who are involved in reaching a particular goal for themselves will actually have a much more concrete sight of how they're going and where they are going and how they or when they will reach that objective that they have. So if you belong to this group of people, know that thanks to all the nice configurations here, we have a trine with the black moon, indicating a possibility to find out what may go wrong. And by finding out, you are able to, to address the situation and to shed light on the dark zone represented by the black moon and accept it and deal with it. And that will also help you direct your attention to the goal that you are aiming at reaching. And then there is Jupiter, of course, which is, the planet that represents success. So the potential to succeed is great because the black moon and Jupiter are also in harmony with the sun, naturally. 2 sextiles here, plus one with Mercury and one with the South Lunar node. So we will actually assess and address what needs to be done in order to perhaps to move faster and lighter toward the goal to reach. And of course, if you have a goal, it's going to be much more motivating for you. But if you don't have a goal, you may get one before then. And if that's the case, you may actually benefit from the 7th of September, that full moon day, to, initiate perhaps something that will actually come into perhaps not completion, but at least it will give you a very interesting result on the day or around the day of the new moon. So, it is an interesting period that we are going to go through until the new moon, which is going to occur about 14 days later. And there is also this discordance here between Mars and Chiron and Jupiter. So this triangle here needs to attract your attention because Mars represents what can happen very, very fast, very suddenly. It may have to do with your health. Chiron represents that, but it may also have to do with health in some area of your life. And Jupiter will probably tend to make things more important than they really are. So the tendency to exaggerate must be controlled, especially on that day. But this configuration is going to last until Mars changes sign to transit in Scorpio, which is not going to occur as quick as the moon's transits around the zodiac naturally. So Mars is going to take about 2 weeks to transit through what is left in Libra, you see, 10 degrees. So Mars takes 6 weeks to transit a sign. So because it is here at 20 degrees, that means that it's already gone 2/3 of the sign. It leaves 1/3 of 6, which is 2. So 2 weeks should be enough for Mars to start transiting in Scorpio. But that means that this tendency represented by this configuration here will perdure until the new moon. So make sure you don't move too fast. You see, Mars represents speed, and we are tempted at times to accelerate in order to obtain what we want, because Mars can represent a desire, and Jupiter may emphasize the positivity of such opportunity that it may represent. But we need to also make sure that we are 100% guaranteed that what we get involved in is not a hoax, a scam, or something like that, you see. And it may also have something to do with our health. And if we exaggerate something that we may feel wrong, of course, inside of us, some organ or function, symptom, do not exaggerate. Just visit your doctor if necessary, and he will be the one to actually decide what sort of treatment you need, if you need any, because you may not need any. Stress is represented by Mars as well, and we know that stress can have a detrimental effect on our health. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that's going to happen, but it means that we will need to be perhaps a bit more careful and at the same time not exaggerating whatever may happen to us during this period, during the whole period until the new moon. Because the moon is going to carry on around the zodiac, and it's going to reach the North Lunar Node, so that is, well, around the day and perhaps early in the morning the following day. But it means that it is actually a full moon that is there to show us the way. But the way the moon shows the way is not as bright as the sun's. So just keep that in mind, because you may need both eyes and a bit of inspiration and intuition to really understand and choose the right path to reach the goal that you may have. So the next transit of the moon, next interesting transit of the moon, is of course when it reaches Saturn and Neptune. And I will talk about that in another video. So for now, that is all for this chart reading very roughly, but I'm going to go into more details in the following videos. So see you soon on this channel. Thank you. Bye.